All right, wouldn't you know it, in California, after nearly 30 days of counting votes, 2 Republican House seats have just flipped to Democrat, barely, like a couple hundred votes. That's next. Welcome back. The congressional elections in the state of California really showcase just how ridiculous our election laws have become. It has been about a month since the election, and in just the last couple of days, 2 seats have finally been called. And wouldn't you know it, they were both very narrow flips for Democrats, as tons and tons of votes poured in after Election Day. In California's 13th congressional district, incumbent Republican John Duarte just conceded his seat to Democrat Adam Gray. That's a district that Trump won, but the Democrat won as well. The Democrat won here by about 200 votes after almost 30 days of counting votes. In the worst countries in the world, elections can be determined after a couple days. In California, it takes a month. This after Republican incumbent Michelle Steele lost her House seat, and she was great, by the way. She lost her House seat to Democrat Derek Tran. That race was called on December 2nd, just a couple days ago. The Democrat there, Derek Tran, winning by about 650 votes in a U.S. House race after almost 30 days of counting votes. So the GOP now has a 2-seat majority. Tom Del Beccaro is former California Republican Party chair. He joins us now along with Christina Bobb, former Trump attorney. Good to see you both. Tom, you know, I feel like if we just keep counting, at some point Kamala Harris is going to win this election.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when they talk about crimes, they talk about motive and opportunity. California has this 30-day period where they count votes, and they also have this rule that you just need a postmark prior to the election. And then in the Michelle Steele Orange County, over 20% of the votes came in after Election Day. So that they have this opportunity, which is to take the polls right before Election Day, see how much their guy is down, and then they have the opportunity to flood the ballots. And who knows where they came from. It's a reason why people are skeptical. If one Republican won one of these late races, maybe you and I would think differently, but it's uniformly the Democrat wins.
I just, you know, Christina, it creates so much distrust in the system, and they know that. And believe me, if they were losing these elections with all these votes coming in a month later, they would be screaming red as well. And the race that Tom was just talking about, it was 300,000 ballots in Orange County that came in after Election Day. That is a ton of ballots. It's almost 20% of the vote, as he said.
Yeah, it reeks to high heaven, and I think it's especially challenging for Americans to accept the results when you have the same party who is pushing for mail-in ballots, then reaps the reward of late mail-in ballots, and they're saying, oh, no, there's nothing to see here. And they weather the storm of conversations like this where we look at that and say, hey, that's a problem. They weather the storm because they can't win without it. And so they tolerate this discussion and try to pacify the public because they cannot keep those seats without those mail-in ballots. And it was in 2020 where they first pushed them out to every voter, whether you wanted them or not. And then they codified that in 2021, and they're trying to act as if this is normal and this is just how it's always been, and they're solving the problem when in fact they're actually creating the problem and making it worse for their own benefit.
Yeah, Democrats get about 65 million votes most elections. They got 80 million in 2020. Nothing suspicious about that. We're right back down to 65 million now, even with Trump in the race and all the vilification of him and how much he inspires the other side to vote. You know, Tom, we looked at this so many times, and you just see. They always say, oh, there's just no, you know, there's no evidence. What there is evidence of, though, is that they create very fertile ground for fraud. They create a very, very, very fertile environment for fraud, and then they just kind of see what happens, knowing that there's all of these radical left-wing groups out there that we've caught trying to screw around with elections, either trying to get illegals to vote and this and that. They make it very easy to cheat. And then maybe cheating happens, and if it does, it kind of benefits them, but we don't want to check ID. We don't want to do all these things. I mean, it's pretty simple to see how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind, there's upwards of 500,000 ballots sent out by California in election years that go to the wrong address or for people who aren't there. Yeah. So take my law firm. my law firm, an assistant there, gets 5 ballots each election. She's repeatedly told them there's only me, but she still gets this. My neighbor up the street gets 3 ballots. Okay, that's just 2 people very close to me that I know. So again, the opportunity is there. They don't clean up the voter rolls. They count forever. They have, amazingly, the signature only needs to, quote, compare to what's on file. Compare? You could drive a truck and compare.
Christina, final thoughts. Go ahead.
I think mail-in ballots are an absolute travesty. I don't think voters trust them anymore. And when it takes 30 days to count a difference of 200 ballots or 300 ballots, I think it sows distrust. At the very least, it sows room for error as well. Whether it's malicious or not, it creates room for error, and we need to get rid of mail-in ballots.
Yeah, make it a holiday. I don't think democracy, by the way, is people going out there and ripping people's doors down, forcing them to vote for their candidate, which is what they do in our inner cities. That's how their big machines really work. By the way, they go in and they say you're going to lose all your benefits if you don't vote for the Democrat, and that's not democracy. Make it a holiday. People need to at least be somewhat motivated to vote themselves, and if you're not, then you're part of the problem. Take the day off. Everybody votes. That's fine. It's not trying to suppress the vote. It's about having an election that people actually trust. And again, if this was happening the other way, they'd be saying the same thing, and we all know it. Christina, thanks so much. Tom, good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right,
Trans Agenda has its